Once upon a time, a Buddhist monk was giving a sermon. Many people from the surrounding areas were attending the sermon, all of them listening to monk attentively. After a while, the sermon concluded and people paid their respects to monk and went back to their homes. But one young man remained seated there. Monk noticed the young man and asked, "Is there something on your mind? Do you have a question?" The young man approached the monk, bowed, and said, "Lord, I am in great confusion. The more I think about this, the more I get puzzled." "What is troubling you, my child?" Monk asked. The young man joined his hands and said, "Lord, how vast is this world? Millions of people inhabit this world, including scholars, artists, and warriors. In such a world, what is the value of an ordinary person like me?" Upon hearing the young man's words, the monk smiled and said, "Your question will be answered, but it will take some time. Can you do a small task for me until then?" "Lord, it's an honor for me to be of service to you," the young man replied. "Please give me your instructions." The monk handed the young man a shiny stone and said, "You need to find out the value of this stone. But remember, you don't have to sell it, just determine its value." "As you command, Lord," the young man replied, taking the stone from the monk. He bowed once again and headed towards the market. The market was not far from there. In a little while, he reached it. It was early in the morning, so the market was just beginning to set up. There were only a few shops around. The young man wandered around, looking for someone who could tell him the stone's value. He thought, surely someone in this market can give me the right price for this beautiful stone. He decided to ask a fruit seller who was arranging his fruits. Approaching the fruit seller, he showed him the stone and asked, "Can you tell me the value of this stone?" The fruit seller, a shrewd man, inspected the stone and realized it must be valuable. He replied in a casual tone, "It doesn't look very special, but I can give you 10 mangoes in exchange for it." The young man felt a mild anger rising within him. He thought, "This man is trying to fool me. Such a beautiful stone, and he values it at only 10 mangoes. He must be lying." Without responding to the fruit seller, he continued on his way. As he walked further, he spotted a vegetable vendor setting up his shop. The young man approached him, showed him the stone, and inquired about its value. Upon seeing the stone, the vegetable vendor's eyes gleamed with joy. He thought, "This stone must be incredibly valuable. If I could get my hands on it, it would bring me great fortune." The vegetable vendor looked at the young man and said, "I was just estimating its value. I can give you a sack of potatoes in exchange for it." The young man couldn't believe what he was hearing. He thought, "This vendor is also trying to deceive me. This stone is worth much more than a sack of potatoes." Without responding to the vegetable vendor, he continued his search. As he looked around, he found himself near a jeweler's shop. The jeweler was just opening his store for the day. He had noticed the young man from a distance and had a feeling that the young man might have come to sell a precious gem. The jeweler approached the young man and greeted him. "Sir, how may I assist you today?" The young man placed the stone on his palm and said, "I need to determine the value of this stone." The jeweler recognized the stone immediately as a valuable ruby, the kind that brings great fortune to its possessor. He said, "Give me the stone, and I'll give you 1 lakh rupees in exchange for it." As the jeweler spoke, he extended his right hand to take the stone. However, by this time, the young man had a clear understanding of the stone's value. He did not want to sell it, and he also did not want to be forcefully persuaded by the jeweler. The young man had a strong desire to reach the monk with the answers he had gathered. Therefore, without hesitating, he turned and hurried towards the monk's ashram. The jeweler called after him, "Wait, my friend. If you find the price too low, let me know, and I will increase it." However, the young man was determined. He wanted to present his findings to the monk. When he reached the monk, he was panting heavily. Monk smiled and said, "What's the matter, my child? Why do you seem afraid?" The young man paid his respects to the monk and recounted the entire story, including his encounters with the fruit seller, vegetable vendor, and jeweler. As he finished, he placed the valuable ruby back in Monk's hand. The monk said, "The fruit seller valued it as 10 mangoes, the vegetable vendor as a sack of potatoes, and the jeweler as 1 lakh rupees. Just like this, in life, each person values you according to their own perception. As people understand you better, your worth increases, the monk continued. But there is a difference between a person and a gemstone. A gemstone is shaped by someone else, while a person must shape themselves. The day you shape yourself, you will find someone who values you as much as this jeweler valued the ruby. With these words, the monk imparted his wisdom to the young man, who now understood the true value of self-discovery and personal growth. Thank you for watching.